what's up, man? I got cellular phones.
Give me 10. They for Roscoe.
Roscoe?
Did I stutter, you big fat-ass punk? Hey! Give me a top of line. Look at this cheap stuff you've been selling on the street.
Is your money good?
You ought to slap yourself for asking that question. Slap yourself.
Mr. T.
Harder. Harder! Now get my phone. Hurry up!
Okay, Mr. T. Okay.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy 2K here. Man, for all y'all motherfuckers out there that try to say that PBC doesn't put on good fights, y'all remember the movie I Got the Hook Up? It was a Master P joint back in 1998. He did it with Anthony Johnson, aka Ezel from Friday. Remember, a package of cell phones got wrongfully delivered to their lot where they did a whole bunch of illegal shit for the hood, right? And they took the cell phones, hooked up with their mans from the hood who had access to illegal chips, and my man put the illegal chips in the phone and they went around selling the cell phones all throughout the hood, right? For y'all motherfuckers, man, I want y'all to do what Debo told the fat kid, the one that was helping him sell the cell phones in the hood, right? Debo's name in this movie was T-Leg. Remember, the fat kid was on the strip selling the cell phones, and T-Leg rode up in the convertible Rolls Royce, right? Fat kid goes, "Hey, I got some cell phones for you." And T-Leg looked at him, he goes, "Yo, give me 10 of them. And only that top of the line shit, not that shit you been selling on the street." And the fat kid goes, "Is your money good?" T-Leg looked at him and said, "Man, you should slap yourself for asking that dumbass question. Slap yourself." And the fat nigga slapped himself, right? T-Leg goes, "Harder." That's how I feel about y'all dumb motherfuckers, man, that continuously say PBC don't put on good fights or good fight cards. Slap yourself. Harder. Word up. Man, this weekend is just another motherfucking example of an excellent PBC card, man. We got Erislandy Lara getting ready to defend his WBA super title for the 6th time against Terrell Gausha. Now, that's probably one of the weakest fights on the card, but it's still a decent matchup. Then you got Jarrett Hurd getting ready to defend his IBF 154-pound title for the first time against Austin Trout. And then you got the most intriguing fight on the card, the most competitive. You got Jermell Charlo getting ready to defend his WBC title for the 2nd time, I believe, against Erickson Lubin, right? Now, let's start with Jarrett Hurd and Austin Trout. Let's just cut to the shit. Austin Trout, man, he's 30-3 with 17 knockouts, 5'9", 72-inch reach. He's 1 year younger than me, people. He's 32 years old. Now, in boxing, at the age of 32 years old, boxing pundits are gonna think 3 things of you, right? Number 1, you're either a current or former champion. You know what I'm saying? Number 2, you've already been through the ringer. You know what I'm saying? You've either fought and won against some great competition, or you fought and lost against great competition, or both. You know what I'm saying? Or number 3, you're on the decline. When it comes to Austin Trout, all of the above. You know what I'm saying? This is do or die for him. Actually, going into this fight, he's still coming off the Jermell Charlo loss over almost a year and a half ago. He lost to him back in May of 2016. So he's been on a year and 5-month layoff. You know what I'm saying? So this is literally do or die. A lot of people think that this fight should go Austin Trout's way, you know, just based on the experience and the way Jarrett Hurd's looked in his last fight, right? But realistically, in the last 7 fights, Austin Trout is only 4-3. Now, he lost to, of course, Canelo, arguably. He lost to Jermell Charlo, arguably. But then he lost to Erislandy Lara. You know what I'm saying? But there's something that's missing with Austin Trout now. And it's ever since he fucking lost to Erislandy Lara, right? The Austin Trout that defeated Miguel Cotto is not the same Austin Trout that fought Jermell Charlo, in my opinion. Those are two different Austin Trouts. It's not the same Austin Trout that tried to execute a specific game plan against Erislandy Lara. I think, in my opinion, in that particular fight, Austin Trout went into that fight. He was extremely confident, right? In my opinion, I believe that once he got in there, he believed that he could keep Erislandy Lara in front of him, similar to how Alfredo Angulo was able to do so, right? He felt that he could keep Lara in front of him. He didn't think Lara was going to move as much as he did and be that elusive. You know what I'm saying? And I think it took a lot out of Austin Trout in that fight. So much so that he's had bad appearances. Not bad appearances, but he just didn't look too good in subsequent fights, right? His very next fight against an Australian C-level fighter by the name of Daniel Dawson, he was dropped 3 times in that fight. Daniel Dawson is a motherfucker that Austin Trout would have murked back when he was beating cats like Delvin Rodriguez and Miguel Cotto, right? Even the Austin Trout that fought Canelo would have murked Daniel Dawson. But I'm telling you, Austin Trout took something out of him. You know, changed up the type of fighter he is, and that's what we saw against Daniel Dawson. Real talk. It's kind of similar to Jermaine Taylor. You know what I'm saying? When he, coming off his losses, motherfucker getting dropped by cats like Caleb Truax. You know what I'm saying? Kind of the same scenario here. We saw a different Jermaine Taylor, right? Little tidbit about Austin Trout, man. Pretty decent amateur background. He holds fights against Vanez Martirosyan and Demetrius Andrade, both of which were losses, but he has that experience against those guys as an amateur. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Vanez Martirosyan is a guy that can give anybody trouble. He gave Erislandy Lara trouble twice, Jermell Charlo trouble. And he also gave, I'm drawing a motherfucking blank, Demetrius Andrade trouble, right? And then, of course, Demetrius Andrade is probably one of the best 154-pound fighters out there, if not the best, even though he's not a champion. Same Luis Ortiz effect that he has in the heavyweight division, right? But with Austin Trout being a former WBA champion, you know what I'm saying, he does bring that experience into the ring. Of course, he lost the WBA title in 2013 against Canelo. A very controversial fight. You know, I thought the fight could go either way, but you got your boy, the judge, Mr. Stanley Krista Doodoo. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I said his name right, Stanley Krista motherfucking Doodoo, because his scorecard was shit. 118-109 for Canelo. Man, that fight was close. I had it 114-113 for Trout. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he lost that fight. And that's also another fight, in my opinion, I think took a lot out of Austin Trout, man. He went into that fight extremely confident. He actually won, in my opinion, the majority of the fucking rounds, the early rounds. He looked good from round 1 to round 9. Round 9 being the round he got knocked down in. You know what I'm saying? But he looked good. And I just think the confidence that he had and then the turnout took a lot out of him as well. All right, let's get to the strategy. Y'all remember once upon a time when Austin Trout defeated Miguel Cotto using superior boxing ability. Can we get that Austin Trout for this fight? Because it's fucking imperative. You know what I'm saying? We need the Austin Trout that, like I said earlier, fought Delvin Rodriguez, Canelo, and dominated Puerto Rican soon-to-be Hall of Famer Miguel Cotto. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need in this fight, dog. Jarrett Hurd doesn't have the experience to fuck with that Austin Trout. To be honest with you, I had Trout beating Jermell Charlo, another controversial fight. I had him beating him by 1 round, right? But the things that he did in that fight allowed Jermell Charlo to have the opportunities that he had and the ones that he exploited, right? Now, if Austin Trout would have fought Jermell Charlo the way he fought Miguel Cotto, I think he would have won that fight by a few rounds. Maybe 2 or 3. You know what I'm saying? Would have been a unanimous decision for Austin Trout, in my opinion. But he didn't do that. It's this new Austin Trout we got. We can't have it against Jarrett Hurd, because that Austin Trout can do the same thing he did against Jermell Charlo's, fuck around and allow Jermell Charlo to capitalize on opportunities that he's allowing him to have. You know what I'm saying? Because he's faltering in his own style. Same thing with Jarrett Hurd. You see what I'm saying? Do not rely only on the jab. And please do not sit in the fucking pocket. That's that new Austin Trout, sitting in the pocket. I have no idea. Ever since the Erislandy Lara fight, Austin Trout has been sitting in the motherfucking pocket, not fighting from the outside, not using the ring. He's not even dictating distance, judging distance very well. Not dictating, but judging. He's not doing that very well anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like he's off the mark a little bit ever since the Erislandy Lara matchup. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing he can't do. Hurd is a much bigger guy. Trout used to be a big the big dude of the division, right? You know, I remember when him and Canelo was standing in front of each other, it was like, damn, this nigga Trout kind of big. Well, looking at the press conference, shit, Hurd and Trout standing in front of each other. Hurd looked like a goddamn super middleweight. You know what I'm saying? Nigga look like he 168 compared to Austin Trout. So the dude is much bigger than you, man. So you can't be sitting in the fucking pocket, right? I do suspect Hurd will give up his height and reach. So keep it moving, bro. If he decides he wants to use his height and reach, right, upon slipping the jab, because Hurd is kind of slow, hand speed wise. Upon slipping the jab, sidestep before countering. Hurd doesn't have the footwork to get away from the return fire. You know what I'm saying? So if Hurd's going to use that setup jab that he did against Jojo Dan, right? If he's going to stay on the outside and jab, try to set up his straight right hand, man, that first jab, man, slip that bitch, you know, do a pivot to the right and do a counter. Guaranteed 100% Jarrett Hurd will not be able to get around that. He might block a little bit of it, but he won't be able to get around it with his footwork. You know what I'm saying? That's money. So that will tell him, hey, anytime you use that jab, I'm going to try to counter you. I'm either come over the top of it or I'm going to slip it, move to the side, and I'm going to counter you that way. So that will bring him in a little bit, right? What else we got? Watch the fucking right hand, though, bro. Do not react to subtle movements. This is why Charlo was killing your ass with the fucking jab straight right combo. Charlo would do subtle movements. It's another thing, man. It's like Austin Trout is timid as fuck today in the ring. It's like he's timid. Like he doesn't want to get hit. You know what I'm saying? You know, Charlo's doing these little subtle movements. You know, Jermell and Jermell, they do these movements very similarly. You know, they're kind of just sizing up their opponent. While they're sizing up their opponent, you know, they're kind of jerking their upper body a little bit from side to side. And, you know, in this Jermell Charlo fight, it kind of gave Austin Trout the false, you know, reality of, or the false idea that Jermell was going to fire. So he would react to it, and then that's when Jermell would fire, you know what I'm saying? And he would hit him. He would set him up with the jab. You know, that jab was killing him as well. You can't react to feints, basically. And I don't think Jarrett Hurd is going to feint much. But that's why I didn't want to say feints, because feinting is an art. You know, subtle movements can be something that the fighter's just doing, and Austin Trout is just reacting to it like it's a feint, but it's really not. You know what I'm saying? So I can't have him reacting that way. It'll set him up for opportunities. And also this new Trout, like I said, he'll stay in the pocket thinking that he has an opportunity for himself. He ends up getting caught. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to Jarrett Hurd. He's 20-0, 14 knockouts, 6'1", 76.5-inch reach. So this motherfucker's got a 3-inch reach advantage with a 3-inch height advantage and a 4.5-inch reach advantage. And he's also got the youth advantage of 5 years. You know what I mean? He's the current IBF 154-pound champion, winning it off of Tony Harrison by TKO in February. Mr. Quitting ass Tony Harrison. Mr. I'ma get up from the knockdown and spit my motherfucking mouthpiece out, Tony Harrison. Hell yeah, man. I don't want to see Tony Harrison fight again. But anyway, that's either here nor there, right? Tidbit about Jarrett Hurd. He was not an amateur standout. Actually, he had a brief amateur career where he only had marginal success. I think he won like the DC State Golden Gloves tournament. You know what I'm saying? And that's about it. You know, Jarrett Hurd didn't have the kind of amateur pedigree that's comparable to a lot of the other champions and contenders at 154 pounds. You know, cats was looking at Jarrett Hurd. They never thought Jarrett Hurd would become the guy he is today, right? A champion. So with that said, that particular background, and, you know, you can tell by what Jarrett Hurd has said in the media, he ain't trying to give up that belt anytime soon. He's hungry to keep it. He was hungry to get it, and he's hungry to keep it. You know what I'm saying? So this could be an intriguing fight, given that background. Hurd was one of the promising prospects, along with Erickson Lubin at 154 pounds, over the last 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Just another little tidbit about Jarrett Hurd. All right, strategy. Use your height and reach, and this is going to sound weird. Use your height and reach as a secondary weapon. Sounds weird as fuck, but it does not have the hand speed or the footwork to elude any counter shots that are going to come from Austin Trout. In my opinion, he should bully Austin Trout, right? It's going to sound weird again. He should fight Austin Trout how he fought Tony Harrison. How he bullied, well, let me say this. How he fought Tony Harrison in the last 2 rounds of that fight. Tony Harrison was whooping his ass. And if you look at the judges, the official judges' scorecards, they're posted on BoxRec under that fight. They had motherfucking Jarrett Hurd winning the fight and shit. He was up like 2 points. Now, I haven't watched the fight since it was on live, so I got to go back and check at whether or not Jarrett Hurd actually did enough towards the end of the fight to actually take over the scorecards. I know the last 2 rounds he was putting on that pressure and he was catching Tony Harrison. And at that point in time, Tony Harrison already checked out of work. You know what I'm saying? Nigga had his lunch pail and everything. Nigga was ready. He was already walking to the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? Time card punched out and everything. You know what I'm saying? And that allowed Jarrett Hurd to come back. But those particular last few rounds that he showed against Tony Harrison, he needs to do that against Austin Trout from round 1, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Hurd is a flat-footed fighter who displays a wide stance from the outside. That wide stance is going to play into my theory about him not being able to elude any counter shots should Austin Trout slip his jab. You see what I'm saying? Austin Trout was killing Jermell Charlo with straight left hand. You know what I mean? As many straight right hands Jermell was hitting him with, Trout was hitting him with the same amount of straight left hands, dog. So I just don't think that Jarrett Hurd, given that wide stance when he tries to fight from the outside and his slow hand speed and his ability to slowly bring his hands back on defense, I don't think he can get away from an Austin Trout counter. I think Austin Trout can use mid-range distance to outbox Jarrett Hurd, even though he has a 4.5-inch reach, just because his footwork isn't good enough to elude return fire. You know what I'm saying? And his hand speed is much slower than Austin Trout's anyway. Trout has been sitting in the pocket in recent fights. This will allow you to set up the sneaky right hand and the uppercut on the inside. Now, that sneaky right hand is the knockout punch in the Tony Harrison fight. He kind of dipped to the left, came back up, and threw that right hand. It didn't even look like it was really all that powerful, which is scary. You know what I'm saying? A punch that doesn't look powerful but still knocks motherfuckers out, that's a scary-ass punch. You know what I'm saying? Austin Trout, again, he was getting caught all night long by right hands from Jermell Charlo because he was sitting in the pocket. So if he elects to do this in this particular fight, it'll be there for you. Also, the uppercut, put him up against the ropes by your bullying and use that uppercut on the inside. That's an underrated punch for Jarrett Hurd because a lot of people don't see it. You know what I'm saying? It's real short and compact, but he has it, and it can hurt motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? So that's something else that he should look at doing while he's bullying him up against the ropes. He has a very stiff jab. It's slow as motherfucking molasses, but it's powerful. What I would like him to do with that jab, if Austin Trout decides to jab with Jarrett Hurd, which I think he will, his jab is faster than yours. His is probably going to get there first, even though you got the reach advantage, right? So start jabbing his right shoulder, which is his lead hand since he's a southpaw. Jab his right shoulder. Over the course of the fight, that will pay dividends. Now, for the people who are trying to learn more about boxing, the technical side of it, when you jab a guy's shoulder, specifically a jabber shoulder, a boxer shoulder, right? You jab his lead shoulder. Over time, that will slow down the production rate from that particular hand, right? Because jabbing the shoulder, he ain't gonna want to bring that motherfucker up no more. So you get 2 advantages. 1, he might not bring it up to defend himself as much as he would before. And 2, he might not use the jab as much anymore, right? Because his arm is gonna feel like it weighs 150 pounds because all that weight you was putting on that shoulder. So I think Jarrett Hurd should use that tactic to kind of slow down Austin Trout's jab and not allow him to dictate pace or distance, right? It will bring Austin Trout in a little bit. Trout is just too quick for you, dog. He's just too quick. You know what I'm saying? You got to bully him, and I already mentioned that. While you're bullying him, work his body. You know what I'm saying? Put him up against the ropes. That'll keep him from moving if he decides to fucking fight you from the outside. That'll keep him in front of you, so you'll be able to bully him like you did Tony Harrison in the last part of that fight. But I just don't think, even though he has a height and reach, I don't think he should try to outbox a guy who is much quicker than him on the hands and on the feet in Austin Trout. So, given the fact that I believe Jarrett Hurd should be the bully for 12 rounds, I don't think he can do it, fam. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he can do it. I also don't think Austin Trout can go back to the old Austin Trout that beat the shit out of Miguel Cotto. I don't think he's that kind of fighter anymore. He's been doing this Austin Trout sitting in the pocket, you know, not really using too much lateral movement for too long. You know what I'm saying? This Austin Trout, who is no longer eluding shots, he's getting caught at mid-range distance. He's been doing that for too long. But I do think against an inexperienced Jarrett Hurd, who showed his inexperience at ridiculous proportions, you know what I'm saying, against Tony Harrison, I think Austin Trout will have enough to be able to exploit, you know, the inexperience of Jarrett Hurd. Now, in this fight, man, it really comes down to what Austin Trout we're going to see. Are we going to see the one more, are we going to see more of the one that fought Delvin Rodriguez, Miguel Cotto, and even Canelo Alvarez? Or are we going to see more of the one that fought Jermell Charlo? It depends. And if the fight, in my opinion, depends or is contingent primarily on that, I got to go with that fighter. So I'm going to go with Austin Trout in this fight, man. I'm going to take the experience. I'm going to take the old head. I got the motherfucking title changing hands in this fight. Got Austin Trout by split decision. All right. Let's move on to the most intriguing fight of the night. You know what I'm saying? You got Jermell Charlo defending his WBC title for the second time against my man Erickson Hammer Lubin. Now, this is the funny part right here, man. I'm watching a lot of people talk about Erickson Lubin. And, you know, my breakdown is really just going to depend on your ability, at least you being able to see what I see. It's going to depend on your ability to be able to judge a fighter's skill set, even though it's against the lowest amount of competition. You know what I'm saying? Boxing heads that got that third eye, they're able to see and to be able to make a well-educated analysis based on what they see and compare to other fighters, right? They can make that well-educated analysis and say, well, I believe he'll be able to still do that against an elite fighter based on how well he's doing it against this particular opponent and this particular type of competition. And that's how I feel about Erickson Lubin. You know what I'm saying? He's 18-0 with 13 knockouts, 5'9", 74.5-inch reach, and he's 22 years old. You know what I'm saying? This guy was the 2016 Ring Magazine Prospect of the Year. And rightfully so. He was actually my prospect of the year. I thought he was a better prospect in my opinion at the time. People don't come on my motherfucking channel. Nigga what? Nigga what? I thought he was a better prospect at the time than Errol Spence. I thought I had Errol Spence at number 2, Jarrett Hurd at number 3. You know what I'm saying? Little tidbit about my man Lubin. Great amateur pedigree. His record as an amateur was 143 wins with 7 losses. And he actually won the 2013 National Golden Gloves Championship at welterweight. The only reason why he didn't participate in the Olympics, which would have been in 2016, is because he wanted to turn pro. You know what I'm saying? My man wanted the money. He wanted the loot. He was done with the amateurs. You know what I'm saying? Now, given his pedigree, the amateur boxing experts expected Erickson Lubin to qualify for the 2016. It was like, oh yeah, what we got for this class? Erickson Lubin, oh yeah, that's easy work. He gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? He gonna make it. Nobody thought Erickson Lubin wouldn't qualify for the Olympics. So he had that opportunity. And he's been asked before, you know, do you regret it? And he says, no, I don't regret it. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I want to do. You know, it's hammer time basically. I'm trying to be the professional boxing champion. I don't give a fuck about gold medals. And it is what it is, man. That's it. That's the decision he made. The guy I just mentioned, Errol Spence, Erickson Lubin is very similar to him in terms of style. Very comparable. They're both big-time boxer punchers. They both have prolific body work, right? They both could stand to use the jab more, but when they do use it, it sets up excellent combinations for them to get at mid-range distance, right? They can both counter their opponent at mid-range distance. The only difference is, in my opinion, is that Errol Spence does more leading to the body from the outside. For example, I've seen this motherfucker lead with a right hook to the body. I've seen him lead with a left hook to the body. You know what I'm saying? From the outside. Erickson Lubin's more of a prolific body puncher when he gets on the inside, right? When he's trying to rough you up in the middle. He's not really going to lead to the body from the outside. I mean, he throw a jab to the body every once in a while, but he's more so head hunting when he's measuring his opponents from the outside, right? Strategy. As I just mentioned, prolific body punching, man. This is going to be key to what type of fight Charlo decides to come in with. Now, I'm going to get to Jermell Charlo in a little bit. But there's two Jermell Charlos. There's the guy that fights from the outside, and there's the guy that likes to stalk you, right? If he decides to fight like the Jermell Charlo that's going to be using the ring, the one that fought Vanez Martirosyan, right? Well, then the prolific body punching is going to be key. Break his ass down and stagnate him, right? If he decides to be the Jermell Charlo that fought John Jackson or Charles Hatley, it's still going to be key because it will show him who the alpha male is, right? And it will slow down his volume. You see what I'm saying? I suspect Charlo will stand his ground. You know what I'm saying? So, in my opinion, along with the prolific body punching, he needs to use the double jab. Jab to the body, that will open him up. You know what I'm saying? John Jackson was using an excellent double jab. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of confusing Charlo. And I think in that particular fight was because they expected John Jackson to go in there the same way he tried to fight Willie Nelson. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what happened. Motherfucker was actually boxing. You know what I mean? So, Erickson Lubin, in my opinion, has a better jab than John Jackson when he fucking uses it. So use the double jab, kind of confuse him, keep him at bay. You have the reach advantage. I think he has a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Keep him at bay. Make him want to stalk you. You know, I believe that's the fight you want. You don't want to have to chase Jermell Charlo around the ring. You want him to be there in front of you, right? That's where you get your opportunities. You can see the amateur pedigree in Erickson Lubin when his opponent gets too close. Instead of sacrificing his position by squaring up in order to get shots in, he will tie up or he'll catch shots on his elbows and shoulders. Man, when I was watching that shit, I watched 2 of Erickson Lubin's fights that actually went the distance. He's only gone the distance. He's gone the distance 6 times, but he's only been beyond 8 rounds once. I think he's gone the distance, which is 10 rounds one time, right? But I watched an 8-round fight that went the distance. And I watched that 10-round fight, and man, I saw that he has an IQ. This is that third eye again. This is that third eye where I'm able to say, hey, he only fought these level of competition, but I'm confident in saying that he can display the same type of skill set against the elite fighters in the division. I think he has a very good IQ, good enough to help him succeed and given opportunities in a fight against any elite fighter at 154. You know what I'm saying? Now, how he looks against Charlo will then better tell me whether or not his IQ is elite or not, or at least he has the workings of having an elite IQ, right? You have to fight more than just Jermell Charlo. You have to fight a couple other elite cats in the division. But anyway, it'll give me a starting point, right? But at this point in time, I believe his IQ is good enough. And just looking at how, you know, when cats get on the inside of him, he's immediately catching shots on the shoulders and on the elbows. Guys at his particular level of his career, you know, as a prospect, they don't do that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, he rarely makes amateurish mistakes. I rarely see that from Erickson Lubin. So, it's going to be fucking interesting, man, when he gets in the ring with Jermell Charlo. He's also resilient as fuck, man. Erickson Lubin is straight up alpha male, dog. Now I know, he's smaller than Jermell Charlo. And y'all motherfuckers know how I like alpha males. I'm one myself. I'm AKA the motherfucking original alpha male. You know what I'm saying? So I love alpha male fighters. I love niggas that get in the ring and don't give a fuck about the opponent across from him. That's how I used to fight when I was fighting. You know what I'm saying? Won't give a fuck who you are. You're not just gonna walk through me. That's Erickson Lubin. You know what I'm saying? That's a problem. I said the same thing about Jermell Charlo when he went up against J-Rock. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to stop right there because that's going to be key at the end of my assessment. But I said the same thing. Hold that thought for me. You know what I'm saying? Hold that. But Erickson Lubin is the fucking alpha male, regardless of the fact that he's the smaller fighter. Okay? He has what he likes to call jack and sledge. But in my opinion, they're more known for breaking opponents down instead of having one punch KO power. And that ability to break Jermell Charlo down with both hands will be key in this fight, especially to the body. You know what I'm saying? Being able to counter over the top of Jermell Charlo's jab, much like John Jackson was doing. Being able to slip the jab and counter with a shot to the body, much like John Jackson was doing. Erickson Lubin is much faster than John. John Jackson's not fast at all, in my opinion. He has moderate speed to below average, and he was catching. He was catching Jermell Charlo. He was faster to the punch than Jermell Charlo numerous times in that fight. So I expect Erickson Lubin to be able to do the same kind of things that John Jackson was doing at a much faster rate and at a much successful rate, right? With all that said, I can't have you pulling back to elude shots. He kind of has that Deontay Wilder effect, man, Erickson Lubin. This motherfucker will pull back. When a guy's coming back at him, he'll kind of have his hands down and out in front of him, and he's pulling back with his head. A smart fighter gonna catch you while you're doing that. Matter of fact, a smart fighter is gonna feint you, try to get you to pull back like that, then he's gonna throw. You see what I'm saying? At this point in time in your career, man, now I know every fighter you fought has had a winning record. You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of people don't understand about Erickson Lubin. He's fought a lot of cats on his resume. They've all had winning records. The last few guys were like 23-1, you know, 21-3. You know, they had decent records, but they're still C-level fighters because they fought D and F level competition to get those records. But my point is, for a guy who's being brought up slowly, he's fought guys with decent records. If you're a casual, you don't know shit about boxing, you're just looking at BoxRec, you're gonna think he has an excellent resume based on the records. You see what I'm saying? But those guys that you're fighting, they're not as smart as a Jermell Charlo. This is a guy you've never seen before, at least as a professional, right? So you cannot pull straight back against a guy like Jermell Charlo. I guarantee he's gonna hit you with a counter. All right, let's get to Jermell, man. I'm fucking running out of time. Let's get to Jermell. He's 29-0 with 14 knockouts, 5'11", 73-inch reach, 27 years old. So my man Erickson Lubin has a youth advantage of 5 years, but at 27 years old, that really don't mean too much of anything. He's still a young fighter in his prime. Of course, he's the current WBC 154 pounds champion. This is going to be his second title defense. Okay, his first was against the amateur, Mr. Charles Hatley. You know what I'm saying? All right, tidbit about Jermell Charlo. He's also a fighter who skipped the opportunity to go to the Olympics to turn pro. But his brother Jermell, he attempted to go to the 2008 Olympics, but suffered a toe injury that needed surgery. And that actually rendered him ineligible to participate in the Olympics. So he ended up turning pro that same year. So Jermell was a guy that said, yeah, I'm trying to get that cake. You know what I'm saying? Now, he didn't have the same kind of amateur pedigree as Erickson Lubin. I think his amateur record was like 58-6 or something like that. Not a lot of fights, but he had more than marginal success. He did very well as an amateur. But Erickson Lubin by far has a much better amateur pedigree, right? Now, I'm just gonna get to the strategy, man, because I'm trying to get this video done. So, it's no secret. Shout out to my man Derek James. We just interviewed Derek James on the latest episode of The Movement that I already posted up on the Movement Boxing channel. You know what I'm saying? The interview was first, so go ahead and check it out. We talked about all his fighters, and of course, we talked about this fight. Shout out to my man. I'll actually be going to his gym too to get Robert Brandt some exposure as well in the next coming week. So, but it's well known that I believe that Jermell Charlo should have stayed with Ronnie Shields, and the reason being is because Ronnie Shields had Jermell Charlo fighting the way that Jermell Charlo is supposed to fight. Understand this, people. Let me get some water real quick. Understand this shit, yo. Nigga, mouth dry as fuck. When you want to fight, when you want to become a boxer, of course you have favorite fighters in mind that you're thinking about, right? That's any sport. You want to be a tennis player, you're probably thinking about fucking Roger Federer, you know what I'm saying? Arthur Ashe, you know, Serena Williams. You want to be a basketball player, you're thinking about Michael Jordan, you know, Magic Johnson, you know, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, whatever, right? Whatever era you're in. You know, you think about the best athletes for that particular sport, and you're like, yeah, I want to be like that, or I want to tailor my style like that. When I was an amateur fighter, I wanted to be a slick fighter. I wanted to fight from the outside and be slick, and I didn't have that ability. My strengths were my power, right? My physical brute strength. I'll run a nigga over. You know what I'm saying? So I was taught to go to the body, beat a nigga down, make him submit. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of fighter I became, even though that's not the fighter that I envisioned myself to be. This is the problem that Jermell Charlo is having, people. He wants to fight like his brother. His brother's a boxer puncher, right? And he has the power to be that, right? Jermell Charlo does not have the power to be a boxer puncher, but he wants to be that same boxer puncher that his brother is. But it's just not possible. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could do it. Let me say it's not. It is possible because Derrick James is doing it for him. But it's a detriment to what Jermell Charlo could ultimately become. I feel that being the fighter he is today, right? I think that is not going to take him as far as being the fighter he was when he was with Ronnie Shields. You see what I'm saying? Jermell Charlo has an excellent fucking jab. He's got great footwork. Now, the last 3 fights, you wouldn't notice that, right? Jaquin Alcine, John Jackson, and Charles Hatley. You wouldn't notice any type of great footwork because he hasn't been using it. You got to go back to, you know, watch him fight Gabe Rosado and Vanez Martirosyan. He displayed excellent footwork in those 2 fights. You know what I'm saying? He can also elude. He can elude with his footwork. It's that good. You know what I'm saying? He uses all of the ring. He used to use all of the ring, right? Everything he did was behind the jab. He would lead with a straight right every once in a while, but he would set everything up with the jab. That's the old Jermell Charlo. That's the Jermell Charlo that was under Ronnie Shields. This new Jermell Charlo is a guy who's trying to bully his opponent. He's sitting down more on his punches, and it's been effective. I mean, he's last 3 fights, he's got 3 knockouts, right? Sitting down more on his punches. But the trade-off is he's not eluding the shots anymore. Jermell Charlo's never had good movement. Head movement. Jermell Charlo definitely don't have good head movement, right? These 2 guys keep their head right on the center line. That allowed Austin Trout to land so many straight left hands against Jermell, right? This allowed John Jackson to literally win 6 of the first 7 rounds against Jermell Charlo, right? So this new Jermell, where he's sacrificing his footwork, which was his primary weapon it was his primary defensive weapon, right? It was his primary way in which he would hit and not get hit. Well, now you see a Jermell Charlo getting hit. Yeah, he's sitting more on his punches. Yeah, he's got a little bit more power. Yeah, he's knocking motherfuckers out. But he's getting hit, people. And he's getting hit a lot more. Honestly speaking, this Jermell Charlo of today, in my opinion, would have lost to Vanez Martirosyan. And that's a 100%. That's 100% from the bottom of my heart. You know what I'm saying? I was going to say fact, but that's not a fact. I really believe Jermell Charlo today would lose to to Vanez Martirosyan that he fought back when he was with Ronnie Shields. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? It was his elusiveness that got him the nod in that motherfucking fight. His elusiveness, and his ability to be able to return fire coming out of being elusive. That's how he got the fucking nod, man. Watching the John Jackson fight, man, that was a huge deal for me. You know what I'm saying? And this is before making this assessment, right? That was a huge deal. Live, watching it live. Never high on John Jackson. In my opinion, John Jackson is not a very good fighter. I think John Jackson is borderline B- C+. He's in between there somewhere. John Jackson's normally a come forward power punching motherfucker. He was doing that against Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson was setting him up and ended up becoming the alpha male in that fight and breaking him down and beating him, right? That was John Jackson's first loss. But he's also an upright type of fighter, man. Just even looking at the Jermell Charlo fight, he was stiff. You know, his lateral movement, you know, he wasn't fluid. You could tell he's not a boxer. Even though Julian Jackson said, hey, my son can box, he's not a boxer. You know what I'm saying? You could tell he's not a boxer. But he was still successful against Jermell, even though he's not a boxer at heart. You know what I'm saying? John Jackson was comfortable as fuck in that fight. You know, that was huge for me. Everything John Jackson does, right? Erickson Lubin, in my opinion, given my third eye, can do it 2 times better than John Jackson. Hell, if Erickson Lubin and John Jackson fought, I got Lubin. And I don't have Jackson winning too many rounds in that fight. You see what I'm saying? I got Lubin pretty handily. I don't know, man. The first thing in the strategy that I have for Jermell Charlo, man, he's got to return back to the old Charlo. He's got to. That's a tall order, given the fact that he's with Derrick James, and Derrick James don't have him fighting like that. But that's what he's got to do, man. He's got to go back to the Jermell Charlo that fought Gabe Rosado and Vanez Martirosyan. He also, you know, back then he stayed on his toes behind the jab, used the ring, you know what I'm saying, majority of the time, and relied more on his footwork to get out of trouble, right? Another thing, you must be first, man. Mix up your attack to the head and body. Lubin is a puncher at heart, so he will ultimately try and land short, compact shots on you. Jab to the body to stagnate him, then get out of range. Now, one thing about Lubin is this. I forgot to mention this. This is one of his cons. While he's on the outside, he does an excellent job with his reflexes, man. I mean, you try to hit him, he sees a punch coming from a mile away, right? Excellent reflexes from the outside. But then Erickson Lubin kind of gets into this mode where he's offensive heavy. And it's when he's stalking you. And when he's doing that, he kind of becomes undisciplined on defense, right? Doesn't bring his hands back. You know, he's wild with some of his hooks every once in a while. Not too much, but every once in a while he can get a little wild. But he leaves himself open. This is a cause for how we've seen Erickson Lubin get hit in his fights against, you know, C-level opposition. You know what I'm saying? Erickson Lubin probably will do this against Jermell Charlo, and this will definitely open up opportunities for Jermell, you know what I'm saying? In particular, Jermell has an excellent catch and counter. Against John Jackson, he would catch John Jackson's right hand, and then he'd immediately follow up with a left hook, you know what I'm saying? And that left hook was hurting John Jackson. That's actually how the knockout happened. He hit him with, I think he hit him with a right hook, though. But I think he finished him with a left hook. I can't remember. But either way, you know, when he sits down on that left hook off of the fucking catch and counter, it's going to hurt a motherfucker. And I think Lubin will be open for that particular punch. Also, he does a straight right hand off the catch and counter. When Lubin's in attack mode, I think he's going to be wide open for that particular punch. You know what I'm saying? One thing that Jermell Charlo did not do against John Jackson, and he also, in my opinion, didn't do it against the amateur Charles Hadley. I'm not even going to talk about the Charles Hadley fight. That was a champion versus an amateur. Can't get nothing out of that fight. That's why I'm going to the John Jackson fight. What he didn't do, he didn't feint, and he didn't half step. You know what I'm saying? He didn't half step and feint. Said in the wrong order. You know, feigning is going to be key against a guy who's inexperienced at the professional level. You got to get the kid to commit to a trap. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be part of using your experience. You know, use your feints, dog. Don't, if Erickson Lubin is moving, don't chase him like you did John Jackson. You're going to get outboxed. I think you can get outboxed. He has the faster hands. He has the better jab than fucking John Jackson. He has the better reflexes from the outside than John Jackson. John Jackson was slipping the shit out of your punches, man. But Erickson Lubin's a better, he has better reflexes than John Jackson. He has a better ability to counter. He has the better IQ than John Jackson, man. You know what I'm saying? And John Jackson was whooping your ass. You know what I'm saying? So you can't chase this dude. You're going to have to cut the ring off if he decides to move. You know what I'm saying? And you need to feint. Feinting is going to be key while you're cutting the ring off. You got to get him to commit to a trap. Okay? Jermell Charlo doesn't have very fast hands, but he has a burst of speed. You know what I'm saying? When he's executing a hook or a straight right off the catch and counter. That's where his burst of speed is. And again, that's where I think he's going to catch Erickson Lubin on the inside. Opportunities will definitely be there. You know what I'm saying? The biggest con that I have of him right now, besides the fact that he's not fighting the old way he was against Ronnie Shields, you're going to have to bring your motherfucking hands home, dog. I seen you not bring your hands home plenty of times against John Jackson. And ironically, against a guy who's more athletic than you and Erickson Lubin, in my opinion. Ironically, what you did to Charles Hatley could definitely happen to you in this fight, dog, if you don't bring your hands home. All right? Lastly, do not be your fucking brother and stay off the ropes. I'm not saying your brother is on the ropes. I'm telling you, stay off the ropes and do not try to fight like your brother. You can't do it in this fight. Don't do it. Stay away from that. Now, my prediction, just given the fact that I seen John Jackson thoroughly outbox Jermell Charlo to the point where Jermell Charlo was kind of confused. Now, of course, I give him credit. He came back towards the end of the fight. You know what I'm saying? He came back. He did his thing. You know, he got the right hook in that hurt him. And a lot of people are like, oh, he poked him in the eye. Go look at that fight again. And actually, my wife pointed this out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see it, but my wife pointed it out. When Jermell Charlo hit him with that right hook, fucking John Jackson's legs were buckling. You know what I'm saying? They buckled. And then, of course, Jermell Charlo continued to finish up, you know what I'm saying, with I think it was a left hook or a right hook. He finished up. You know what I'm saying? So, I think that the knockout was legitimate. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that you were losing to this guy damn near arguably 7 straight rounds. I gave you 1 round out of 7. But you arguably lost all 7 rounds, dog. I think Erickson Lubin, given his pedigree, given his ability, and given my third eye. So, I mean, we ain't got much to judge on him. You just have to have the ability to see shit. And I could be wrong, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Given my, I'm trusting my ability to see shit with my third eye. Given the skill set that I perceive Erickson Lubin to be able to bring into the ring against an elite fighter such as Jermell Charlo, I got Erickson Lubin, man. I think he can do everything and beyond what John Jackson did while having the IQ to not get caught and to get hurt to that magnitude. You know what I'm saying? Paulie Malignaggi says something great at the end of during this John Jackson fight. They were talking about the switch from Ronnie Shields to Derrick James. Paulie Malignaggi said, well, I don't think I like him sitting down more on his punches. And Steve Farhood was like, what do you think, it opens him up more? He was like, nah, you know, not just that. I don't think he's as smooth as he used to be, right? He said he's kind of biting down on every shot in order to make sure he has the utmost power on every shot. And Paulie said, given Jermell's ability, what he's good at, his pros and cons, that's not the best style for him. He said he should not be trying to fight like his brother. And he also quoted Jermell in an interview before that fight where he said, hey, I can punch just like my brother. Paulie said, you shouldn't be thinking like that. That's not your style. Man, I 100% agree. And that's going to be the big difference in this fight. That's why I got Erickson Lubin winning this fight, also by split decision. Now, before I end this video, I'm going to go ahead and give a quick-ass prediction of Lara Gausha. Lara gonna beat that ass. Real talk. You know, Terrell Gausha ain't fought nobody since he's turned professional. As an amateur, he's got a pretty good amateur pedigree. He's fought some good fighters. He beat a 168-pound contender, Jesse Hart, twice. Jesse Hart just fought for the WBO title against Gilberto Ramirez at 168 pounds. He got dropped and then lost a unanimous decision, but he was a game opponent. He's still one of the better fighters in the division, and Terrell Gausha beat him twice in the amateurs. You know what I'm saying? So, also the type of style that Gausha has, he's one of those relentless, come forward type of niggas. You know what I'm saying? Another alpha male on this card, right? He's going to try to break you down. He's going to stay on top of you. He does something that looks really nice. I don't think he's going to be able to get it off on Lara, but he's been doing it since he was an amateur. He'll kind of pivot to his left, and while he's pivoting, he'll bring a fucking left hook from goddamn downtown Mississippi, and he'll land that shit fucking square on your chin. I seen him knocking out mad amateurs with that same punch, you know what I'm saying? And he's brought that punch into the professional ranks. You know, I don't think he'll hit Erislandy Lara, a guy that's so elusive. I don't think he'll hit him with it. Also, the style that he has, Terrell Gausha, I believe, is 20-0 with 9 knockouts. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have the power, in my opinion, to keep Erislandy Lara in front of him. He can do the same things that Alfredo Angulo was doing against Erislandy Lara, which, you know, allowed, you know, Angulo to keep Lara in front of him. But the difference maker is the power. Angulo had the power, you know what I'm saying? And Lara wasn't moving around the ring as much because of that power. I don't think Gausha has that power. I think, you know, if he touches Lara probably shake that shit off and continue to move. So I got Lara winning this fight. He might knock the boy out. But I'm going to go to Safeway and say I got him winning, what I put it as, 118, 110. You know what I'm saying? 10 rounds of 2. Real talk. All right, YouTube. Damn, didn't mean to go this long, but it is what it is. You know how I do these prediction videos. I like to talk a lot. I like to give y'all a lot of content. I like to give y'all the realness. None of that fake-ass bullshit that's out there on YouTube right now. You know what I'm saying? This is a real prediction video. One of the best. YouTube, do what you do in the comment section and be real. This is real talk for real fans. 1.